What's up, guys? This your girl CJ. I tried to record this video so many times, but anyways, I'm gonna try to do it this time. And basically, you guys know what it is. If you are new to this channel, what I do is I share what I feel like I'm learning in the Bible. Like I'm not proclaiming to be a teacher, pastor, or any biblical leader or something like that. That's not what I'm proclaiming. All I'm doing is being a child of God, learning to be a child of God, learning to grow. That's what I'm proclaiming to do. The only safe zone out here is I'm learning to be a child of God and grow. And I'm sharing my growth with you guys, or sharing my insights, or what I feel like could be an insight with you guys. And I know that I'm going to mess up. I know that I'm not perfect. Some things I might understand incorrectly, and that's okay. It's okay. I'm not trying to teach you guys nothing. I'm just sharing what I'm learning, and what your job is to do is to go look for yourself and learn for yourself what is true and right. But these are the things I feel like. Sorry, I got an ant on me. But these are the things that I'm feeling like I'm learning. But anyways, on to the video. I read a while ago, like a few days, like some days or so ago, I read in the book of Genesis. I think it was Genesis 34. I could be wrong on that, but it's about, the story was about Jacob and his daughter Dinah. And so the story goes that Jacob's daughter Dinah ended up getting, I'm gonna say raped, but y'all know what I mean. If you don't know what I mean, it's just take the G off of great and you have the rest of the word. I think that YouTube don't really want you to say the word on there, which is weird, but whatever. But anyways, Jacob's daughter was raped, and the graper, after graping her aggressively, he decides, oh, I've fallen in love with her. I want to marry her. She should be my wife. She's going to be my wife. And so he tries to put together a wedding, for a marriage for him and this girl that he forced to, do the do with. And so that wasn't right. And I want to say this too before I get into it. In the Bible, there are stories in the Bible that people are being humans, which we err, they're doing the wrong thing. These stories are not to direct you and say this is how you should live your life. No, not all the stories in the Bible, or not all the parts of the stories in the Bible are showing you how to live your life. Some of these stories are documenting what happened. It doesn't mean that God approved of what happened. It's just to document, not just to document, to inform, and to get you to think and see the response of God, the response of others, and how we should respond to certain things and do to certain things. But anyways, back to what I was saying though. In the Bible, in this part of the Bible, he tried to force a marriage or something on her or whatever, after violently taking her or whatever. And then Jacob found out about this. Well, not about the marriage part, because that didn't happen till later. But Jacob finds out about the graping part. And then after he finds out about her being raped, he's like, okay, I'm not going to tell her brothers until they get in from the field. When they came in from the field, then he told them what happened. So 2 of her brothers were very angry. And mind you, Jacob is not doing anything. I noticed that. Jacob wasn't doing anything. But her 2 brothers, they got really upset. And they did something about what happened to their sister. They went out. They plotted against the rapist, the rapist is named. I just can't remember his name. But they plotted against him. They pretended to go along with his marriage proposal, saying that, yeah, you marry our sister and you give us some of your girls and we'll marry them and build a strong bond, whatever. Because that's what they used to do back in the day. They used to marry a lot of times to build up a reputation and strengthen their family. A lot of times they did that. And that doesn't mean that that's right, because it's not right to just marry to have a reputation. But anyways, that's actually selfish. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. So the brothers, they agreed to the marriage or whatever. But they told the guy, we're gonna agree to the marriage, but you have to get circumcised first. The only way you can marry her is if you're circumcised. It's just a part of what we do. You have to do it. And so they agree to circumcise him, and not only him, but the other men that was, a part of them or whatever. Sorry, I had a mosquito on my leg. And so they agree. So then later, some days later, 3 days or something like that later, they were still sore from the wounds or whatever. And so the two brothers went ahead and, offed all the men that were circumcised and the rapist. Off the men that were circumcised and the rapist. And so when they came back, Jacob heard about this, caught wind of this, and he, instead of getting mad at the rapist, he got mad at his two sons for killing all those people. And so at first glance, when I first noticed this story, that was like a long time ago, I got pissed off, because I'm like, why in the world are you getting upset with these kids for standing up for your daughter? Something you did not do, which she needed somebody to stand up for her. Then I thought about it. Then later, fast forward to now, as I'm older, rereading the story, I see this story entirely different. First of all, let's deal with Jacob. Jacob, he was slow to his anger. He controlled. He basically dished out. He utilized his control, his self-control. He not only utilized his self-control, he was like, to me it seemed, I can't like say what exactly he was doing, because the Bible doesn't state directly what he was doing, but it did remind me. His self-control reminded me of that scripture of how we need to be slow to anger, and and things like that. But it reminded me that in a way of, don't let your anger control you. And now here's why. Okay, his two sons, and I was trying to figure out why he was upset with his two sons, but I get it now. He was upset with his two sons because his two sons were like angry. They allowed their anger to control them, and they not only just allowed their anger to control them, they their anger controlled them so much so that they ended up killing innocent people behind the graping of their sister. Whereas they could have killed that one dude that raped their sister and then justified it to the people around them. The men that they killed, justified it to them by saying, hey, this is what he did to my sister, and stuff like that, and stood up and showing them that, hey, we need to stand up for, stand up against this. they were driven by their anger. And I noticed something about being driven by your anger. I noticed something about anger and sin. Sin waits. Sin waits for you to be very weak, to enter into a weak, vulnerable state, to then make its suggestions to you, to make its deepest suggestions to you, to ruin your life. You can sit back and be having a good day, and be normal, free, this, that, and the third. Something happens, and then sin will then become very loud in its suggestions to you when you're upset, or when you're vulnerable, when you're sad. Like, take depression. Sin cannot be heard. The sin of suicide. There we go. I said it like that. I broke it down. But the sin of the sinful thoughts of that, I call them sinful thoughts because of my own understanding of it. You might understand it as something else. So don't get upset that I called it that. But the sinful thoughts of doing that to your innocent self comes loudest when you are at your weakest point. But when you're strong, when you're happy, you're stronger. When you're happy and strong, if that thought came to you, like, no, what the heck? I'm not gonna do that. But when you're at your weakest point, that's when a lot of your thoughts come. Let's take the point of sexual sin. Sexual sin it happens at your weakest point, when you're sexually aroused. A lot of times people bend to their sexual desires when they're sexually aroused because they are weak. Instead of trying to stand strong against those arousalness. I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm just showing you that how sin works against you. Sin is very crafty. It waits until you show it at the weak point, and then it comes in for your jugular, and it has no mercy. So you need to stand up for yourself and basically be mindful of your moments, of just every moment that you're in. I have a quick story. It happened to me not too long ago, a couple days ago, where a girl got behind me in traffic. I watched it. It was so weird. A girl got behind me in traffic. Traffic was stopped, and she over here in the next lane, traffic is stopping, and she cut behind me and then start cursing at me and get mad at me because I'm stopping, because everybody else is stopping at a red light. And so I was sitting there, so I got out of my car and I looked at her. I was like, "What? Did you not see what's going on?" I'm just very calm about it, but confused. I'm like, "Do you not see what's going on?" And she's like cursing me out and this, that, and third. And I heard God say, "Get back in your car." And so I'm like, I'm just standing there. I'm like, "What the heck?" And then I'm like, okay, eventually I'm going to get back in my car. Then she says, I think she's told me to get back in my car. And you know, when somebody tells you to do something, then that's when pride steps in. Sin caught me at my weakest moment. So I'm like, no. I'm like, I know God just told me to get back in my car. I'm like, no, I'm not getting back in my car. You don't tell me what to do. I stood there quiet, and I'm telling her, you're going to have to go around, bro. You're going to have to now traffic has moved on. You're going to have to go around me. You're going to have to be the bigger person and go around me. And I kept telling her, you're going to have to go around in a very calm state. But then I eventually went back to the point in my head. I'm like, God just told me to get back in my car. And so I consulted off of that, got back in my car and drove away. I feel like God was telling me that I feel like God told me that something happened to her, and she basically didn't know how to relay her anger, and so she put her anger out on me, an innocent person, but she was already angry before. And that could be true, or that could just be something I made up. But I feel like that's what God might have told me. in that moment. And so I was trying to have compassion on her. So I did. And I just went about my day, though I was angry about it, because I'm like, dang, God, I'm always letting people, these things roll off my shoulders. Like, why you always got me doing this? Which I don't really understand it, but I will eventually. But anyways, I use my story to say, be mindful of yourself, your weaknesses, and stuff like that, so that you don't get yourself into a bind, that you don't allow sin to get you into a bind, because that's why a lot of people are in jail nowadays. Not all people, because some people are actually innocent, but many of those people in jail are there because sin played on their weakness. But anyways, guys, that is a story that I wanted to share with you guys that I learned about. Oh, and I think I did say something about Jacob. Jacob was taking his, I feel like Jacob was probably taking his time dealing with the situation to give a proper answer to the situation, because later on his son, I feel like he didn't want to do what his sons did, go off his anger. And I say that because later on his son Reuben has sex with his concubine, and Jacob waits to deal with Reuben until at the last bit of his life, like when he dies, get ready to die. He then dishes out to Reuben his punishment. So, and his punishment it was harsh, but it wasn't as harsh as it could have been if he just reacted. Oh, you gonna do this to me, and then he just did something stupid that sin probably wanted to do. So that's why we don't let sin. That's why we tame sin, not let sin tame us. In the Bible, something like that is said, but I don't know what it is or where it is. But I have to learn. I have to now sit back and learn and apply this to my life and everyday situations of not allowing sin to tame me, but me to tame sin in every situation. I'm not going to be perfect, as you see me in traffic. I'm not going to be perfect at it, but I am willing to try. All right, there you go. See you guys in the next video.